in the middle of the season where
it was after All-Stars.
Yeah, indeed. It was at All-Stars, also at LCS Wembley. It was that sort of that time when there was a lot of Anivia being played. But there has been a couple of response picks here. The blue side looking pretty unorthodox right now.
Yeah, but Jinx and also the Ziggs coming through. Ziggs, long range in the mid lane, has seen a lot of play. A lot of people are switching over to Xerath because he fulfills kind of like the same role. A lot of people have been saying that following that kind of mantra of thought, and then that will be picked up, followed by the Jinx in the bottom lane, and in response, Caitlyn and Braum for the blue team.
Yeah, Caitlyn, Braum. First time we've seen Braum in our games that we've casted today, but not the first time we've seen Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn was in both games actually, and you know, a champion that you don't see too much at the top level, but certainly is a very consistent champion.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Maokai comes through, and well, Maokai was banned out earlier today in basically all of our games that we casted, but now has been let through, and we will be seeing that in this game. It's been one of the strongest top laners for a long time, in fact. Lots of people have been saying, well, he does everything too well, because you either trade off your team fight or you trade off your top lane 1 versus 1 split push potential, but Maokai does both, and it's just amazing.
One thing that I think Maokai is going to give here is a bit of a forgiving laning phase to Hecarim. I mean, Hecarim typically isn't the best in a lane perspective. It doesn't farm very easily through the very early game, so that's one thing that Maokai you've kind of seen in those lanes. You see a lot of champions that can kind of get a little bit of farm under their belt, still has a fair amount of damage in that lane from the Arcane Smash, from the saplings as well, but it's just one of those kind of situations where maybe Hecarim's a little bit more forgiven than if it was against a more damage-focused top laner.
Yeah, so now we start looking at team compositions, but because these are not organized teams, they don't really have a composition specifically in mind. So we start looking at like pairings, and we do have like good initiate, we have the Nocturne, we do have the Maokai, but apart from that, do you see any synergies between these two teams?
That's an interesting one. I mean, you've got the pseudo-global style of Nocturne into Jinx. That's going to do a good job of kind of picking up any kill that Nocturne maybe can't quite pick up off the Paranoia. The same with Ziggs. This is a composition we've seen a couple of European Challenger teams running, where you have the Ziggs, you have the Jinx, and together their ultimates provide a massive area which just is going to execute anything that stands in the middle of it.
Yeah, and from the opposing team, we've got the Anivia, which is something you don't see every day. It also has the wall also to throw in, has the Crystallize, of course. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Caitlyn and Braum as well. And, well, it's a lane that we have seen, but Braum is picked up in a lot of games. We do have the Janna Braum matchup here, and Caitlyn will be going up against Jinx as well.
Yes, indeed. Now, I believe we are just in the delay period. Only got a couple of minutes here before we do get into game. But, I mean, there's a fair amount of meta picks on the purple side. Over on the blue side, really not champions we see too often at all. There's Hecarim top is not something we've really seen too much unless you watch Infused play or one game in mid lane in the North American Promotion Series. But Wukong jungle, we talked about it earlier, has started to fall off. I mean, he doesn't exactly have the biggest effect without getting further and further ahead in the early game.
Yeah, we almost never see that pick, and one of the problems with Wukong is it's very difficult to draw ahead because you're not really an early game jungle. You don't have very much CC. In fact, you have no real CC until you get that level 6. So it's kind of the same sort of thing as a Mumu. It's very risky, but in terms of team fights, he's one of the strongest when you transition to that phase in the game.
Yeah, indeed. It's just very strong. If you can get that kind of 5-man ultimate, if you can get either the clone into the ultimate or a flash ult out of Wukong, that's the kind of situation where you can end up doing a lot of damage. They've actually got quite a lot of zoning here as well from Anivia ultimate. When put down, that's going to create another area that you can't step into. Onslaught of Shadows does a great job of driving your opponents kind of out of the way of where they want to be. So there's a fair amount of AoE on the side of our blue team, then counting Braum as well with that Glacial Fissure. So there's a lot of crowd control there.
Yeah, control seems to be the name of the game for that for the blue team, specifically in team fights. I'm very interested to see how these laning phases are going to be, because Hecarim is actually more of like a lane bully more than anything. You maximize the rampage damage, and then you just keep wailing away at your lane opponent with that sustained damage. You mentioned that Maokai will mitigate a lot of that, has the passive of course for the extra healing, has the Arcane Smash to keep him at range. Mid lane, they're both super long range, so doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of kill potential. No,
not much at all. That's going to be a lane that you're really not going to get too much from, unless there's a big skill disparity. If there is, you're talking diamond as opposed to like a silver or gold, there is going to be some lane bullying there. But if they're of equal skill, you'd expect neither one to die.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how that mid lane goes. Bot lane, of course, we've already spoken about Janna, Braum, Caitlyn, and Jinx. And the lanes that we see, but they're like picks that we see, but not necessarily combinations that we'd see together.
Yeah, yeah, that is indeed true. Typically, we'd be seeing Caitlyn with the Janna.
Yeah,
If,
and the Jinx maybe with the Braum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If Worlds were to be any kind of indicator, although we haven't seen too much Braum in Worlds at all.
No, we haven't. It's been a lot of Fresh, well, a lot of Janna as well, because as you mentioned, Gorilla over there has introduced that. Nami as well, and those seem to be the trifecta of bot lane supports that we've been seeing so far. But either way, guys, we are on to the Rift. We'll be getting the game up on your screens very shortly. And we'll see how this final game of day 1 of the EGX Gfinity stage will be working out. So, bot lane, Caitlyn has just stopped moving, and will be actually carrying on into the bot lane. So, will we see any early game action? Well, typically in these kind of mixed assorted games, you'd expect no action, but because we do have our 2 casters in the wings, then they may be shot calling for their teams and may have something up their sleeve.
That would be an interesting one if indeed they are taking control here, taking the charge of their respective teams, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. Gfinity 1, I believe, is Sona.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
And then
6, of course, will be Scoundrel.
Yes, Gfinity 6 is Excander. So, see if we can find him. There we go.
Definitely found Braum, but in the top lane, Arcane Hecarim. And everyone just playing it pretty safe. The lines of scrimmage have been formed. However, everyone is centralized around the bottom jungle more than anything. And they are in position if they wanted to go for a late invade, but Nocturne just sitting in his blue buff indicates that probably not going to be the case just yet. And everyone will just be walking to their lanes just as normal. Maokai is sitting at this blue buff for a long time, however.
Yeah, he has been sat there for a little while. I mean, we'll see whether he drifts back up to top lane, because that's one of the things is you don't want to give your jungler too good of a pull, because then you're a little bit stuck on the experience in lane. That's
Maokai's still here. I mean, typically your bot lane will help, and sometimes it's the difficulty if your bot lane even stays for a little while.
Yeah.
And now he's going to top lane.
I mean, in fact, I actually kind of blanked on what you when you said blue. I thought blue side blue, because you know, immediately top side, and then I remember it's Hecarim on that side. So Maokai is going to be late to lane. Like, there is no need to pull on the red side for blue. You're pretty much right on that. That's a very non-standard thing to do.
He also started sapling, so he could have stacked saplings and then used that to help, and then walked up to top lane at 1 minute 30, which is just enough time for you to get there as the minions get there. He also warded the red buff on the way up, so I guess he wanted the extra timer just to see if Wukong counter jungle, but Wukong is not seen as a counter jungler or an aggressive jungler in the early game regardless.
A couple of different little interesting starts here, actually, in lane. As you can see, Sona taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, being hit up. It's funny calling him Sona because that is his name, but he's playing Janna, and Sona also happens to be a support.
I should probably just start saying Janna here. But,
it's like, what? You don't know the champions in League of Legends? That's a funny looking Sona, but I guess they both float. Janna sitting down there, but in the top lane, Maokai is being bullied super hard. Not only did he miss out a lot of minions, but now that he has this minion wave heading towards the turret, he's going to be losing even more that he won't be able to last hit. And 13 to 3 farm is a huge goal differential, only 3 minutes into this game.
Yeah, and what goes with that is the experience differential. Uh-oh.
Broken shot. Nope.
Uh-oh.
At least he got away from it, but he won't be able to go for this gang.
Yeah, he really can't go into that lane. Okay, he is going to recall away, but bottom side for our red side have started some peculiar items here. A dagger start out with no health potions is a very risky play here, and is not something you typically see.
And meanwhile in mid lane, and if he picks up first blood on Ziggs, everything is just like reverse Summoner's Rift right now for us.
It's backwards world right now. That shouldn't have happened, and to be honest, I should have caught that, but you can blame that one on me.
Yeah, you don't expect a Ziggs versus a Nivea lane to result in many kills, if any kills, because Satchel Charge exists, and Rebirth from a Nivea as well, so definitely can be forgiven on that one. Top lane, Maokai is getting chunked down by Hecarim. And yeah, going back onto that dagger start, that's pretty interesting. Typically you will just start Doran's Blade because it gives you everything you need in the early game. It's risky if you really want to go for that Shiv as fast as possible, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I still wouldn't recommend it. if I'm being honest. The health from Dagger is just too nice. The lifesteal as well is just, you know, everything that you need in that lane, as you alluded to already. And you know, it makes it a tough position here, because if Jinx gets caught at all in this lane, there's no real sustain here that's going to come out.
And the other thing is he doesn't have a trinket, so it may have just been a mistake.
Stage learn.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is play like a pro, and I mean, some of the teams that were looking to qualify for Worlds ended up not buying trinkets at Gamescom.
That's true, actually. That did happen.
It happens to the best of us.
You know, sometimes it is actually tactics. Remember Diamond France played that game where he played Evelyn and didn't pick up any items. He only picked up one item, picked up a trinket, then went back to base, picked up a blue potion, and then counter-jungled and murdered the enemy jungle. So sometimes it's tactics, sometimes it's just forgetting things.
Sometimes, yeah. It's, we'll go with tactics.
Yeah.
I'm going to fake them out. I'm going to make them think we have an extra ward so that you can't gank us.
That's true. However, they can just see the items.
Yeah, doesn't work that way.
That's true.
Not every tactic is a game winner.
It is not, but in the mid lane, that will be the Rebirth passive coming into effect. Has managed to burn that one, but Wukong is still on the chase from the back of Ziggs. He used one more auto attack, did manage to get the flash just as he connected the Nimbus strike. Will be getting away back to his turret. So passive pop from Anivia though, but still has that flash.
Yep, still has the flash indeed. Now this top lane, how is it going? Wow, this is falling further and further behind for Maokai. Now 43 CS to 18. That's a horrible position to be in this lane.
It's not unsalvageable though. You do have a Nocturne jungle, and Maokai is a pretty good gangplank with the Twisted Advance and the rest of the CC he brings to the table. But we haven't seen really any ganks from Nocturne, and he might perhaps give his level 6 gank to top lane. That may be what he has to do.
The other thing they've got to be careful for here is the fact that Hecarim has teleport. So if he were to get mobility boots, or you know, whichever boots he wants to go for, and then home guard, that makes for a terrifying gank potential. You look at an onslaught of shadows coming from home guarding Hecarim, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, and his initial attack will hurt even more because his passive, of course, scales from movement speed. So that will be a lot of damage coming in from that Hecarim from the top lane. 43 CS to 27 is not a scoreline you want to be seeing this early on.
An interesting one in some people's minds, I guess, about that tier on Anivia, but for those of you that perhaps haven't played a lot of Anivia, or, you know, haven't got the champion, because it's a fairly not seen champion, Anivia's tier is going to get stacked up by the ultimate. For every second, or, you know, for the duration that the ultimate is over, it will start stacking up.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, like, unless your name is Froggen,
yeah,
pretty much no one really plays the bird in competitive play. In the bot lane, haven't really paid too much attention, but I've got to be saying that the Dagger doesn't seem to be playing off for the Jinx player right now. 26 farm to 47, it may be to be expected from a Caitlyn lane who will outrange and out-harass you, but when you're more than 2 waves behind, you really need to do something to catch up.
Looking back up at this top lane, Maokai's actually opted for extra AP here with a blasting one, but it's bottom lane where there's a little bit of a...
Well, Nocturne just flashed on the spot, so he's not going to have that to escape, and he will just be mulched. Kill comes out for Caitlyn as the first kill of the fight. Now, with Anivia coming in from the side, lands a perfect blast cross, will be keeping Ziggs in place, and will be following up the Glacial Storm as well, picking up that kill. 2 for 0, and the Dragon's always followed for the blue team. Yeah, Dragon is going to go down here, and that flash was a little bit of a costly mistake. Again, maybe a little bit of nerves here on stage. As an early flash there on the spot. That's a low health Wukong. That was just such a costly error. Yeah, that was literally the worst way the fight could have entered. Jinx was already low, Jungler burns his flash immediately, then gets caught, and then the rest of the team fight just goes the way of the blue team. They're just so far ahead right now. It's going to be very, very difficult for the purple team to catch up.
Yeah, it will indeed, and again, Maokai up in the top lane has opted for the blasting ones. Typically, if you're building Maokai towards that Rod of Ages, you'll start with the Catalyst to protect it just because of the way it stacks up. Sona might be caught.
Yep, Janna is dropping low, will be popping that shield, of course. That's really confusing.
It's so difficult when you know one of the players by name.
You know their name, and their name happens to be a League of Legends champion.
When is Sona Janna?
In this game, apparently.
Only in this game.
Only in this
game.
Never
Flash
again.
Frost.
Flash Frost into the E. Plus the ultimate. Is it going to be enough? Glacial Storm not quite going to be picking up the kill on Ziggs. Very close, however. Still managed to keep hold of his own ultimate and Ignite. top lane, trading blows. Vengeful Maelstrom will be mitigating some of the damage, but now is not the time to turn around and start farming minions.
So another big change that happened in the patch was the fact that Maokai now gets reduced maximum stack damage, and it's more in line with his base damage on that Vengeful Maelstrom. So at the first level of the ultimate, it actually will do the same damage no matter whether it's on for 1 second or 10. Typically it will stack up, but now it's 100-100, completely matched. So you're actually only getting the damage reduction from that. So if you're looking for a kill, there's no need to end up stacking that. It's only to keep yourself alive.
And from a previous patch, also the duration is capped. So he can't just like sit there and trade blows with Hecarim all day. It's like, I have this 10-second window in which I can trade with you, and now I need to leave. And he didn't even win the trade with Vengeful Maelstrom active. So this is a lane that's going to need some help, and just adds insult to injury is going to be a Wukong coming in for the gank. Pops the ultimate as well, just to pick up this kill. Hecarim is tanking up the turret. One more turret shot will result in a 1-for-1 in this gank, and Wukong was also close to falling, so that was not the most well executed gank I've ever seen.
But Wukong has to be careful here. Look at where Nocturne is. If he chose to go on this, if only he had his ultimate, but he's a little further behind on experience. Mid lane again.
This time Janna comes in for the gank. Will be picking up the kill though, and the 2 versus 1 still results in 1 kill for the mid laner of Anivia. Ace Null comes across. Will be tagging the backside of Janna as she just tries to escape. Super Mega Death Rocket down the mid lane. Will be popping the rebirth, but they do not have enough damage to finish that egg off as well.
Yeah, not enough. Doesn't crack the egg. But, you know, it's good to get that Anivia passive down, and Nocturne was in a little bit of trouble, but Wukong was pretty low himself, so didn't want to chase. But getting that passive from Anivia makes it pretty much easy to kill Anivia now. Anytime Anivia doesn't have a passive, you have to play a lot less aggressive in the lane. You can't push up so much because, you know, Anivia's kit is pretty much built to have that passive in mind. So you kind of end up more vulnerable without that passive because your health isn't quite as high as perhaps other mid lane champions. There's just a little couple of adjustments that make it more difficult for Anivia to survive.
Absolutely, and if you look at the team of the purple team, is there any real saving grace? As I'm saying, that top lane once again getting completely out-traded by that Hecarim top, but everyone is behind in every role, apart from maybe the supports. But in the AD carry role, there is a huge differential in terms of farms. Likewise, the same story for top and mid lane. And in the jungle, Nocturne still doesn't have a level 6. We were talking about that trade maybe like 2 minutes ago, and he's still level 5. 2 levels over the jungler is something that you don't really see every day. Typically, you can just stay up and farm, but Nocturne has not been able to do that, and is heading towards a Feral Flare build as well.
And Nocturne is what I would dub race to 6 style jungle. He doesn't really like trading without it. He really relies on that ultimate. It's pretty similar to Kha'Zix, how once you get the ultimate you can just appear in lanes. It's very, very similar, and without that ultimate, which has only now become available, it is difficult to do so. And keep in mind that level 1 Nocturne ult has a massive cooldown. I believe it's around 160 seconds, and really has a small range. You can only get in from, I think it's about 1,500 range as well, so it's not even a significant cross-map advantage. It is only from the backside of a lane.
Yeah, it's almost like a ace in a hole range. It's pretty short at the early levels, and also going with the Feral Flare build, maybe looking towards the late game here, but a lot of Nocturne players, if Nocturne is ever picked up, which he has been picked up occasionally in some of the games we've been seeing recently, usually goes for the Spirit of the Elder Lizard. It just gives the early game punch that you need.
Not only that, because his Q also applies the Elder Lizard stacks, it gives you better clear, it gives you better wave pushing. There's just a lot that synergizes with the Elder Lizard.
Yeah. Typically, the pick that you see not going to be the thing that we're seeing in this game, however. Mid lane, Anivia just continuing to outfarm that Ziggs, and it's just the same story every lane all over the board. And it's not a scenario that's really going to get much better either. If you look at the scalings, late game, I'd probably just give it to the blue team anyway.
We were talking about the importance of hitting cannon minions. Sorry, Excandrel, you missed that one.
Yep.
Not good. Not good. You've got to get those cannons. But, you know, a lot of people maybe don't see Hecarim too often in their games either. So you can see Excandrel building to what I'm going to assume is going to be a Spirit Visage. Could be a Banshee's Veil, but I honestly feel like Spectral Cloak, or Spectre's Cloak, is going towards the Spirit Visage. And that, not only for the magic resist that he's getting against the Maokai lane, is going to benefit his trading potential, because Hecarim's W puts that aura around him, and all damage taken he regains a health percentage of. Spirit Visage is going to give him bonus health regeneration on that. So it's just another nice way of staying alive.
Yeah, Spirit of Dread is something that people don't really pick up about Hecarim's kit, but is very, very valuable. Flash comes out, will be mitigating the Nocturne ultimate, just turns around, bursts him down. Ease to the face will result in a very dirt Nocturne. Ultimate comes through, will not be enough to finish him off. Ignite still ticking. That's a very aggressive Anivia trying to do as much damage as possible before falling. A 1-for-1 gets the shutdown. Jinx Rocket comes across as well. And the Janna auto attacks will just be pushing Wukong back to turret.
Now this Anivia player is actually a pretty experienced player. You can tell that from the fact that the Paranoia came across. There was no panic flashing when facing against a Nocturne. Do not flash before Nocturne has already reached you. You want to flash out after his Paranoia has completed. That way you don't get tethered by his fear, and you create extra distance.
Yeah, he wasn't even in range to use Unspeak Hara, so he couldn't get in range, he couldn't CC him, turn around, kill, and perfectly played. So nice timing on that, playing it cool underneath that pressure, as you mentioned. Now 6-2 currently. It is the purple team who are just fighting for control currently, and when I say the purple team, I mean just Janna. Currently is Jinx trying to put down the bottom turret, turn that into ruins, but currently it's very, very difficult for Janna to clear out these wards by herself. You've got this dual lane terror just walking around. Jinx is in a very precarious position. Oh, will also walk into a trap as well. That's a worst case scenario. Glacial Fissure comes across into the ace in the hole. Actually nets herself backwards. This may be a kill not going through. In fact, Piltover will be long enough range to pick up the kill regardless. 7-2. And blue team are just getting further and further ahead.
Bit of a scrappy fight over who is getting that one.
Yeah.
Anivia. Oh, if only Anivia knew. This could be a perfect double stun here. Now he knows.
Misses the flash cross, however, follows up with the 420 damage. Is going to be massive onto that health bar of Nocturne. Level 7 versus level 11, however, will mean that the blue team picks up the dragon. Anivia by herself was enough to zone him all the way.
Yeah, that is a very powerful Anivia. She already has a Rod of Ages, still stacking the tier up, has tier 3 boots with that Home Guard enchantment already. Typically you won't see Home Guard come out until very much later on, and only if you're behind. Typically it's when you're starting to get damage onto inhibitor turrets, that is when Home Guard is picked up. But the benefit it gives Anivia here is she returns to lane a lot faster, out-farms faster, pushes the waves faster, means she can back more frequently.
Yeah, it means that they'll never be able to see ever as well, because Anivia will always be in your lane with those Home Guards. Top lane Hecarim refuses to trade, uses the E on a minion though, but still burns a flash, so worked out profit coming in from the top lane, and that was just an E in the queue that killed 6, so yeah.
Ooh, big Static Shiv. Proc is going to help clear that out. Bottom lane, typically you've seen Static Shiv as a first item on Tristanas that are behind, but Paranoia, you're low health.
Another Paranoia on low health. That's just a free kill for Hecarim. I feel like it's a deja vu moment coming out with a Nocturne, and this may indeed be a double kill, just tanking him underneath the turret. Double kill comes out for Hecarim. That was not the best ultimate and not the best trade I've ever seen in the world, because it also baited the Maokai to his death as well.
Yeah, when you're going to expend a large cooldown like an ultimate, like Paranoia, typically you should probably be on high health when doing it.
Yeah,
it's
I
just
don't really have
general
anything to add to that, because that's a true statement and that's it.
It's a rule of thumb that is really worth sticking to.
But that's another 2 kills going to the Hecarim. In fact, his first 2 kills of the game will allow him to start picking up even more items. Kind of going this like Nasus route, where you go for like components of resistance items, and then go for the Trinity Force afterwards. Has picked up the Machine, we'll see what else he decides to go for after he goes back to base, because he does have a fair chunk of change in his back pocket, as he doesn't have perfect farm, but has 140, which is significantly more than Maokai. Bot lane, that was Winter's Bite hitting Jinx, and the wards will be pushing them away, and Anivia has turned her attention to the bot lane. Means only Wukong is in the mid lane to really contest, but this looks like a flash cross if I've ever seen one. Doesn't manage to land, but the Frostbite and the ace in the hole is enough to finish her off regardless.
So a little bit of decision making 101. If your turret is that low and you're the only person around, there's no way you're going to be able to hold that turret, so it's better to back away. Yes, you're losing a turret, but if you die, you're giving them even more gold anyway. And, you know, when you're building in a situation like they are in the AD carry here, where Static Shiv is there to make sure they can wave clear, it's not worth dying over.
Yeah, it's literally just adding even more to their advantage, and now Hecarim maybe for this dive just had the last charge of Rampage, and will be able to take them away. Janna just following after. Jinx Rocket comes through, does not manage to tag anyone, will just be flying off the map. There we go.
Yeah.
May have hit someone on the way back, maybe someone recalled, but it wasn't to be. Blue buff will be heading over to Anivia. Now moving into the mid lane, but the siege potential from this team extremely strong, just being so far ahead. They have the Caitlyn, they have the Anivia. It's essentially the siege dream team.
Yeah, this is a pretty good siege team. Very good anti-siege team as well. And this is one thing I kind of wanted to bring up for any AD carry players here that find themselves falling behind on a champion that maybe their mid-game isn't quite so strong. You look at a champion like Tristana, typically if you're falling behind in lane, it's actually fine to build a Static Shiv as your first item. Because of the way it helps you wave clear, you get extra gold just kind of passively from it because of the way that you're going to get more minions from each wave. So it's actually pretty good if you are behind to go Static Shiv and then finish off your Infinity Edge.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll even see Triss players pick up the Static Shiv first and then become a split-pushing threat. And then, just for other reasons, in the top lane, Maokai has been locked down. Concussive Blows keeps him right where he is. Ace in the hole comes across, and it's just a matter of time before the tree goes down. We'll be going to Hecarim.
I'm not sure what Ziggs can do here.
No, well, he's going 1 versus 3, maybe able to pick up this one kill. He does indeed get the shutdown onto Caitlyn, but sort of worth, but mostly not.
Yeah, not the best. Again, going in 1 versus 3, not the best idea, especially when you take into account Ultimate wasn't available at that situation. So if you're looking for a kill on Caitlyn, you would have really wanted the Ultimate to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like a 2-for-1 would have been worth, but the fact that he went 1 versus 3, there's a assist gold in there as well for the opposing team, so we'll still be coming out negative. Does mean that just have those 2 kills. This is looking pretty dire from the purple team right now. They have very little ways of getting not only back into this game to stabilize, but to catch up and overtake. 1 Frostbite takes up literally half of that Nocturne's HP.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. Still about 250 stacks away from having that turn into a Sarah's Embrace, so that's going to be another potent point of this game. Let's take a look at how much gold. Okay, about 1,000 on the carries for our blue team, so when they go back and buy, they're going to be even. Oh dear.
Well, Janna is pretty dead right now. The Crystallize comes up and will just be accepting his fate. Knows he can't go anywhere. Meanwhile, Hecarim was able to pick up the kill in the bot lane, so the duo lane and the bot lane have dropped 15-3, literally being picks all over the board, just resulting in more objectives.
We were talking to Sona earlier about trying to carry as the support. He even, you know, said earlier, I try and play solo queue, and carrying as a support is pretty difficult.
Not going very well.
And then he picked support. I mean, he knew X-Scandal was going top because he banned Fiora.
Yeah, so we could have seen the clash of the casters in the top lane. Wasn't to be the case.
I mean, especially when he saw Hecarim locked in. Could have just locked in something like a Rise.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, rip.
And
there we go. It's like, maybe a health potion will allow him to survive another tick. But either way, that's just another kill under the belt of the blue team. On the top lane push, however, Maokai was able to pick up that outer turret and is now moving into the inner turret. But Hecarim is coming from the base at light speed. And we'll be back with those home guards and the mobility boots. In fact, opted towards the Merc Tread and also the Frozen Gauntlet, so didn't even go down the Trinity route.
Yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one. But of course, with that Iceborne Gauntlet, it means anything that he catches, which is going to be everything, is never getting away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just plain and simple there.
Yeah.
Ain't never getting away from Hecarim.
When Hecarim gets on you, you are not leaving. It's like there was a Korean build going around with Vi where you would go for like a Trinity Force and then you would follow up with like first item Frozen Gauntlets or something. Not Frozen Gauntlet, Frozen Mallet, and you would just stick to people all day. You would hit them with the ultimate and they couldn't get away from you, and then you just dove on them.
I was going to say,
maybe the same sort of thing.
Would be highly inefficient after Triforce.
Well, you have gauntlets, so gauntlets on your gauntlets. But in the mid lane, there's the Iceborne Gauntlet to make sure that Nocturne is unable to escape. It's in the hole, blast rampage, and another kill goes down. 0 and 5. Not had the greatest of impacts in this game.
not had the greatest of impacts at all. No, and oh, Onslaught of Shadows.
Underneath the turret and the Rampage and the follow-up as well. The relentless assault comes in from the top lane of Excalibur. Middle turret goes down. Ziggs is trying his best to clear out the minion wave, but he's so behind at this point, he just doesn't even have the damage to efficiently clear out the minions.
Also, if you want something fun, as Ziggs is getting forward, that's pretty much a done deal. If you want something fun, next time you get Hecarim in ARAM, his ultimate has one-to-one scaling, and his W becomes very powerful if you build AP.
Interesting. That is a good ultimate, however you are dead. Follow-up as well from Brock, will just make sure to put close procs. There'll be Maokai dropping as well, follow through onto Jinx, gets the Flash Frost and a great Crystallize. Able to follow up here, so much damage from that Frostbite. Just needs a couple more auto attacks. He really wants this one, will be getting that shield down. Knocks him onto the spawn pad. MVP goes to Janna.
MVP goes to the spawn pad, ladies. That's
fantastic monsoon though.
It was a good monsoon, but you know, we don't want to give our fellow cookhousers too many compliments.
That's true. That was a terrible monsoon.
Oh dear. One feels that the one of the casters has had far more of an impact on this game than the other.
Well, you could say that. It would be true as well.
6-1-6 on Hecarim.
Yeah, it was a very difficult laning phase, however, for the Maokai past literally the first minute, because he's been so long pulling that he was 7 or 8 CS behind before he even got one. So literally being behind from minute 1 is kind of a big deal in the top lane, as you like over time will just get eroded.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a big discussion at Worlds on 2v2s matching their lane timings from pulling to the jungler, but it's even more important in a solo lane.
Yeah, I remember Crepo saying he always just wants to win his lane and will usually just like leave the jungler to it, even as what usually stays behind, but the Onslaught of Shadows comes in, lands onto 4 members of that purple team. There's the Ziggs bomb coming up, but only really scratches the surface of Braum. Interesting direction to put up Unbreakable, but now it's just cut off completely from the team will be Maokai. He'll be dropping 4 for 0 so far, looking to make it the clean sweep. As Hecarim is heading around the side, charging up the E. Looking to knock him into the wall maybe, but it looks like it will be curtains as the purple team is just sucking the drain at this point.
It's not a good spot to be in. Ziggs. Only one left and Anivia's hunting him.
Yep, well the auto attacks will come down. 644 damage on that Ziggs is quite a big deal. The first Nexus turret falls, the second one will be sure to follow. The bot lane comes up, the dynamic duo. Can they do anything about this? Great knock-up onto Free, but will be dropped in very quick succession. He is in the hole, still survives, but the slice keeps him off the spawn pad. Only really a matter of time before this Nexus falls. They pick up the second kill, the third kill, and we'll just ace them again at the spawn pad. The shutdown comes out, but it's a small consolation prize as the blue team will be picking up this game. 30 kills to 6, 8 towers to 2. And that will be the very last game we have today here, Stress, on the first day, so there's still plenty of games to go. We still have 3 more days to go here at the EGX Gfinity stage.
Oh man, that was just a very impressive performance on Anivia. 12, 2, and 9. Ended the game with a double needlessly large rod, as you do, you know. I'm winning this game, let's just get more damage. But make sure people stay around here, because I know that we've got some stuff that the Rioters are going to be giving away. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but you know, make sure you stick around, because the Rioters are pretty awesome to talk to as well. So if you've got any glaring questions as well, make sure you keep them in mind.
Absolutely. So we will be shooting over to our host, and of course the Rioters, Rat Bolton on the stage here. So we'll be doing that just in a minute. We'll see you soon.
Alright everybody, well that is the final match, Battle of the Casters, and it has been won by the team on my right. So, on my right, would you like to on accept your winnings? Of applause to the team. Please take your t-shirt. Yeah, t-shirts for everyone. Squishy toys and Riot points and cards and everything. He's running away with 2, guys.
you. Your heart is a magnet, I'm coming at you. Girl, you're my target, I'm aiming at you. You're a comet, I'm trying to catch you. We can break any rule they ever taught you. Forget about anything they ever bought you. Cause me and you don't need a lot in this world to get by. Plus you know I got you, you pull me in. I don't resist, time seems to fly but the clock doesn't tick. I crash into you, we both feel the hit. We both feel the way that our chemicals mix and I will.
Zero, three.
SK. Uh-oh.
0-3.
Kaboom. The Kaboom dream. 06.
0-6.
I keep trying to like resist the temptation to be like Gfinity.
Oh.
All right, so that was the Riot giveaway for today. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. We had an awesome day of games. The casters have done fantastic. The players have also done very well. And just a big thank you to everyone who got involved. And so, don't forget that we will be doing this, the entire event, each day for the whole day. And also, follow Gfinity on Twitter, at Gfinity, almost at 100K, and the hashtag as well, which is hashtag Gfinity EGX. Use it for the weekend. I'm glad everyone's had some fun, and let's have a good weekend. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Will these tired eyes awake? It's easier to hide.